In 2021, the District Municipality of Muskoka received provincial funding through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to conduct 12 technical projects coined Making Waves. The projects aim to examine existing conditions in the Muskoka River watershed, explore ways to reduce the impacts of flooding, and enhance watershed health. These projects will lay the foundation for an integrated watershed management approach for the Muskoka River watershed that seeks to manage human activities and natural resources together on a watershed basis, taking into consideration the connected interests and needs of the environment, economy, and society. The district has led the projects with assistance from an established community roundtable, which includes representatives from the Muskoka Watershed Council, area municipalities, local businesses, and various community organizations across the watershed. The reports and accompanying video presentations for the 12 projects have been prepared by consultants who specialize in the subject matter.
This slide is a title slide. It shows the title of the presentation with logos for the District of Muskoka and Meridian Planning Consultants. Muskoka River Watershed Land Use Policy Review 2022. This slide shows a title and textual bullets. Introduction. The Land Use Policy Review is one of a number of studies being undertaken by the District of Muskoka as part of the Making Waves initiative, being an initiative to design a comprehensive approach to watershed planning and management for the Muskoka River watershed. These studies are funded by the Province of Ontario to examine the existing conditions within the watershed. The Land Use Policy Review provides an overview of the existing municipal land use policy frameworks within the watershed. In particular, this study undertakes an analysis of the official plans for each of the watershed municipalities in order to identify current land use priorities and approaches being implemented across the watershed. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points. The study also examines the key principles of integrated watershed management and examines 5 case studies beyond the Muskoka River watershed. These case studies provide an overview of approaches used in other jurisdictions and how such approaches have been incorporated within the corresponding municipal policy frameworks. The intent is that the findings of the Land Use Policy Review may be used to inform the design of a comprehensive approach to integrated watershed management for the Muskoka River watershed. This slide contains a title, textual bullets, and graphics indicating each of the upper tier municipalities. Municipalities in the Muskoka River watershed. There are 3 upper tier and 13 lower tier municipalities within the Muskoka River watershed. The upper tier municipalities include the District of Muskoka, County of Haliburton, Geographic District of Parry Sound. It should be noted that the Geographic District of Parry Sound does not have any upper tier governance and thus no official plan or upper tier policy framework. Lower tier municipalities within each of these upper tiers includes, in the District of Muskoka, the Town of Bracebridge, Town of Gravenhurst, Town of Huntsville, Township of Lake of Bays, Township of Muskoka Lakes, and Township of Georgian Bay. Within the County of Haliburton, there are 2 lower tiers within the watershed. These include the Township of Algonquin Highlands and the Township of Dysart. And within the Geographic District of Parry Sound, there are 5 lower tier municipalities, including the Town of Kearney, Township of Perry, Township of McMurch Monteith, Township of Seguin, and Township of the Archipelago. It should be noted that within the watershed, not all of the entirety of all of these lower tier municipalities are within the watershed boundaries. In many cases, it's only a portion of the municipalities that are actually within the watershed. This slide contains a title and a map of the boundaries of the Muskoka River watershed. The map on this slide illustrates the boundaries of the Muskoka River watershed along with the upper and lower tier municipal boundaries. The watershed extends from the County of Haliburton and Algonquin Provincial Park in the east, all the way to the shores of Georgian Bay in the west, and from the southern portions of the District of Parry Sound in the north to the southerly limit of the watershed, which cuts through portions of the Town of Gravenhurst, Town of Bracebridge, and the Township of Lake of Bays. This slide contains a title, textual bullet points, and a graphic showing the scope of work undertaken in this study. There were 4 key elements to the scope of work for this study. Those 4 elements include 1, to undertake an analysis of all municipal official plans in the Muskoka River watershed. This includes the 2 upper-tier municipalities of the District of Muskoka and the County of Haliburton, as well as all 13 lower-tier municipalities. 2, to identify current land use policy priorities and approaches across the watershed. 3, to identify consistencies and inconsistencies in policy approaches, with particular reference to the principles of integrated watershed management. This policy review focused on a number of key elements, including natural heritage features, natural hazard lands, resources, infrastructure, development, and lot creation. This slide contains a title, textual bullets, and a graphic showing the scope of work undertaken in this study. The 4th and final element of this study was to undertake a review of land use policy and integrated watershed management practices undertaken in 5 case studies outside of the Muskoka River watershed. These include the Mattawa River Integrated Watershed Strategy and City of North Bay Official Plan, the City of Greater Sudbury Watershed and Sub-Watershed Planning Initiatives and the City of Greater Sudbury Official Plan, McVicker Creek Watershed Protection and Rehabilitation Plan, Thunder Bay Remedial Action Plan, and the City of Thunder Bay Official Plan, Mississippi River Watershed Plan and the City of Ottawa Official Plan, and finally the Nottawasaga River Integrated Watershed Plan and County of Simcoe Official Plan. This slide contains a title, textual bullets, and a graphic showing the scope of work undertaken in this study. In November 2022, the findings of the study were presented in a report titled Muskoka River Watershed, Integrated Watershed Management, Existing Conditions, and Land Use Policy Review. It is intended that the recommendations of the report may be considered in developing an integrated watershed management approach for the Muskoka River watershed. This slide contains a title and textual bullets. There were 4 key findings identified through this study. Key finding number 1, jurisdictional consistencies. Consistency across the watershed is challenged in that the watershed does not fall within a singular upper tier jurisdiction. While there is a considerable amount of consistency in policy approaches across the municipalities within the District of Muskoka, there is considerably less consistency across municipalities outside of the district. This is further challenged in that there's no upper tier municipality in the District of Parry Sound to fulfill the coordinating role of an upper tier municipality. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points. Key finding number 2, policy directives. There is a great deal of variability in the strength of the policies contained within the watershed official plans. In some cases, this is a matter of terminology between mandatory requirements, relying on terminology such as the words shall and must, and support for a policy direction relying on more permissive technology, relying on words such as may, encourage, or support. The challenge is that in absence of a coordinating watershed plan encompassing all municipalities within the watershed boundaries, it is difficult to establish consistent foundational goals and objectives or policies to implement them. This slide contains a title and textual bullet. Key finding number 3, mapping. Mapping resources that support policy are significantly varied across the watershed in terms of both the extent of the mapping and level of detail. In general terms, better floodplain mapping is required in some municipalities. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points. Key finding number 4, metrics and performance standards. The application of setbacks varies significantly. This is true of shoreline setbacks throughout the watershed in particular. The no negative impact test is well established in the watershed official plans. However, only a few of the watershed official plans have raised the threshold to extend the no negative impact test to include the concept of net gain or improvement to existing conditions through the development process. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points along with a policy graphic. There are 6 key recommendations included within this report. Recommendation number 1, incorporating the principles of integrated watershed management within official plans. Greater consistency amongst the watershed official plans is needed in a few key areas. These include official plan visions, goals, and objectives, level of detail contained within the policy frameworks, terminology used across the official plans, and level of detail and extent of mapping. This slide contains a title and textual paragraph along with a policy graphic. Recommendation number 2, policy directives towards an outcome-oriented approach. There is still a greater need to develop policies as well as establish base metrics and performance standards in official plans within the watershed. Within the District of Muskoka, the district has taken a leadership role in this regard. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points along with a policy graphic. Recommendation number 3, implementing policy. Additional mechanisms need to be established to implement official plan policy. These include 1, creating an integrated watershed management policy checklist to support new policy and official plan formulation. 2, incorporating integrated watershed management into municipal frameworks, including direction on how integrated watershed management will be applied to future land use decisions, public works, asset management, and municipal expenditures. 3, addressing cross-jurisdictional issues to elevate the linkages between neighboring municipalities from consultation to cooperation to coordination to ultimately partnership level initiatives. And finally, 4, establishing adaptable monitoring and feedback loops. The integrated watershed management process is dynamic and should be continuously adjusting to build resilience into both the watershed features and the built environment. This slide contains a title and textual paragraph along with a checkmark graphic. Recommendation number 4, striving for cumulative wins. Broad strategies should be supported by incremental projects or wins on a smaller scale that cumulatively and consistently contribute to progress towards an identified outcome or strategy. Collectively, this can be leveraged to build capacity into an overall watershed strategy. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points along with a checkmark graphic. Recommendation number 5, information needs. Recommendations related to information needs include 1, more comprehensive floodplain mapping in some municipalities across the watershed. 2, expansion of monitoring programs to include a broader range of indicators beyond only phosphorus. And 3, application of a lake system health program, such as has been established in the District of Muskoka, to other watershed municipalities beyond the district. This slide contains a title and textual bullet points along with a checkmark graphic. Recommendation number 6, identifying cross-connector opportunities. There are a number of opportunities that could be realized to provide linkages between programs and policy initiatives that address common issues within the watershed framework. Such programs and policy initiatives include goals, policies, and programs addressing matters such as sustainability, resilience, and climate change, source water protection plans, low impact development practices, natural capital and ecosystem services, and municipal asset management. Further, there are partnerships, funding, and data sharing opportunities that could be leveraged across this spectrum of interests. This slide contains a title, textual paragraphs, and a graphic of a speaker at a podium. In summary, the Land Use Policy Framework provides an overview of existing land use policy frameworks within the Muskoka River watershed within the context of integrated watershed management. The study incorporates not only policy frameworks from within the watershed, but also includes an overview of 5 case studies from other jurisdictions in Ontario. The key findings and recommendations of the study may be used to inform the development of an integrated watershed management approach for the Muskoka River watershed. The results of the study are presented in a final report available through the District of Muskoka website at www.muskoka.on.ca /IWM projects.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. To find out more about this and other integrated watershed management projects, or to learn more about integrated watershed management in the Muskoka River watershed, visit muskoka.on.ca/IWM projects.